here, and I'm going to go ahead and take that question. Caller, your area code is area code 505. You're actually on the air with Esoteric Radio. How can we assist you?
Hey, Brother Sevan, it's Nima. I haven't chimed in a while, but need to support a little more. It's interesting how you mentioned the citrine and actually transferring the currency a little bit. Can you expound a little bit on grounding out that currency as we would with an electrical field, the same way with money, as in grounding out and actually dispersing some of it?
Well, really what you would be doing with money, it's almost like if you had something that was contaminated, there's still only a certain level of cleaning that you can do it if it has a core of contamination. So this is like a bacteria. And so no matter how much bleach you pour on it, if there's something that is inside of it that is causing it to become a bacteria, then it can only be washed somewhat to make it have less of an effect. It's like we can only lessen its effect, but we will never be able to eliminate its effect entirely until we stop using it. Lessening its effect would be, of course, making sure that where it goes, you can see where it goes, at least one hand, two hands at times. It's like if you know, like when you pay rent, you don't know where the money goes. So, and then ultimately it ends up in the hands of individuals that have very negative energy and their DNA and everything that is there. And it's like that connection is what we are now working on cutting. But just with anything, you can't just cut something where we've been getting all of our fuel from it. It would actually kill the host. It would have to learn how to plug itself into something else and then cut. You see, so it becomes like a real procedure, almost like a surgical procedure to remove people from money. But and the citrine and the selenite will come to aid. If you realize that definitely all of these crystals are alive, the beings that they correspond to already made a long time ago. So they've already figured out the solution. But when you're dealing with darkness, that's just what it is. It can't be anything else, because then it would just cease to even be as a component. There wouldn't even be a counterweight. Then our whole universe and mentality would topple. So the reality is that we have to address it from the level of knowing, like these pictures are showing on the live stream, that there are beings behind this. They look strange. They are the real extraterrestrials, and they're there. And when you're in an altered state of consciousness, you can see them too. And so I know they 100% exist. So there's no amount of, if you have this guy in your hand and he's vibrating right into your energy center, which is where your hand is, that's not going to have some kind of effect. But that's why it says you can get this wisdom to actually know about all this, and this begins the steps. You start to actually awake and realize what's happening. You realize, okay, this is serious. You mean I'm in Earth right now during the Mark of the Beast program? Oh, hell no, let me get out of here. Because that's what it is for them. It's capital Hill, or Hill, H-L-L. That's the Kabbalistic word for hell. The Kabbalistic word for the moon is Hillel. As you see, even with the Dr. Bronner Stokes, Dr. Bronner went against Hillel, who was teaching, a man named Hillel in Europe that was teaching all these men alchemy and everything to do with how to cut trees and all sorts of stuff. And Dr. Bronner still has on his labels, I had to fight with the great Master Hillel because he was incorrect, that we are all one. But the Master Hillel was telling them, no, you're divided. This is the moon. You see? And this type of knowledge is, when is this? This is now the time for it to come out and for people to be invigorated off of it, because they've tried everything else now. Now they have no choice but to come and fess up to the actual truth. And so that's what we're doing. So again, brother, I definitely appreciate you calling in. If you have another question, I can take that question. We have about 4 more minutes left in the conversation.
I'll leave it open. Thank you very much. We'll have to expound a little more with more time. Thank you.
Definitely, and for everyone that is looking for more expounding on this, I'm definitely going to be putting out a publication. It's called The History of Currency, and we're just going to take it apart from the Zoom, because it's easier for me to zoom in and to show what's there, show who's involved, show what plant, and even how even plant consciousness has been affected, meaning that a plant can make a decision to serve something that's dark. And this is when we start giving respect to the planet also, about how much it is really alive. Because at this point, sometimes we think that, oh man, you know, it's just Mother Earth and it's just a hologram, and you know, they got everyone thinking all this weird stuff, but the reality is that all of what you see around you is alive. It's just something about the actual frequency we're on, because the reality is that when entering into an altered state of consciousness, now when I mention altered state of consciousness, it's not to mention other things, because there's certain things you can and cannot say now, and in order to just avoid trouble. But when I speak of a higher altered state of consciousness, I'm not talking about being drunk or anything like that. I'm talking about actually being in the state in which you are completely active as far as your chakra center. And at this point, your third eye, your third ear turns on. And then you see things as they really are, which is very similar to the way that you see them now, but they're alive. And then from that point, communication begins to take place. Communication on that realm is everything, basically. All ether really is ideas and communication and spirits and all of this stuff jumbled together until it makes geometric patterns that equal the reality because they project sound. Then what ends up happening from here is that our harmonic frequency is then tapped into and made so that I'm basically at times controlling the guy next to me's reality of being here. And then he's triangulating that to the other guy in his reality to be here. And that's why when you go on like a monk mission and you end up in a cave somewhere and you start to meditate, if you tap out of here and you open your eyes, you're out of here. You're not in this world anymore because no one's projecting that. You're out. That's why I said there's a power now in returning to the roots, because that's, if you look at some of these old these videos on BBC about some of these inaccessible places of Africa, and you just look at these places and they got them in high definition, you can see the power of returning to roots because you would have all the data of who you are. It would talk to you. The land would talk to you. That's how it would work. It's not something that they can stop. It's something you can stop, though. And that's why it's important for us now. I can do it as many ways as you need it. That's what I'm here to do. I can explain to people in so many different ways how they need to wake up. I ask also that people, when leaving this call, before leaving, if you could press, I believe it's star or 1 to hear whatever this advertisement is. It does help the show go up more in rank, and that way more people can actually listen to the show. I definitely want to say, just on another note, that, man, this has just been a phenomenal journey. Like, regardless of all of this, like I said before, and there's many of us are equipped to deal with things if we happen to be released from this body at one moment, meaning that anything like we were talking about with these fear-mongering, what's the worst could happen? You would end up outside of your body. If you still think that is a downside to things, then you're caught up in what they call an island kind of concept, which the Sufis talk about, thinking that that the island is the only thing that exists, but it's not. But first you must cross the sea. I will tell you the truth. It's been a pleasure being here today. I want to thank everyone that definitely is in the studio, Mr. Spirit Matter for working the live stream. I also wanted to give a big thanks to Louise Hull, behind the camera all the time, making it happen. I even saw someone on Facebook say, well, what does the other guy have to say about all of this? Because he's always behind that camera working in cinematography, but he definitely understands that one thing about a movie producer is he's never on camera. And I definitely want to again say wholeness and balance vibration to everyone. Thank you to Muna, and thank you to John, and all the other supporters of the Resistance, Miriam, and all the individuals that have come forward, Quantum. I mean, just to name names is almost injustice. There's so many. Thank you again.